Great memories. You know, we always watch the game film after each game, saw what we did right and wrong in preparation for next week. Cannot remember who we're playing or any other details, but I remember like it was yesterday. Gerry was on the carry near the goal line, and he leaped over would-be tacklers into the end zone for the touchdown. And Phoebe said Gerry really wanted that touchdown to sacrifice it all. Seriously, I can still remember seeing him leap, and more importantly, all these years, every time I'm watching a football game and the ball carrier leaps over into the end zone, I thought of that play of Gerry's, and of course I always will. Yeah, he was darn good ball player and even better guy. Did not realize you guys had a son, and sadly he passed. Of course, was devastating to you both, and sorry you both had to go through that. And the obituary was very nice. Obviously, God was important to you both, with him getting to be a deacon. Yeah, I can see that easy. And I know, unfortunately, we all have not stayed in touch since graduation. At some point, I heard you were in Arizona, and besides the touchdown play above, every time I heard Arizona, you guys would pop in mind. I am in Kentucky, and just cannot get back for the funeral, so wanted to send you these kind words and reassure you that Gerry, you, and all of your family are in my thoughts and prayers. By the obit appears Gerry's mom is still living, so also please pass on my sincere condolences to her as well. On we go, sweetie, but you know he's always looking down on you always. Take good care and hang in there. Love, Belch. So that's from our buddy. Okay.
Thank you. And I do want to thank all of you for showing support to me and also for just paying respect to Gerry. This table over here are all classmates that we went to school with since kindergarten. So we spent 17 years of our life together over here. So Gerry tells me that a third of our class has passed on already, and quite a few of them are either were sick today, had an accident, some disease, old age disease, and so the rest. So I appreciate you coming and just giving me support. So, Mark,
we're the refuge.
You might get a knock on your door. Now we have really no excuse not to come out to visit.
That would be great. And actually, Gerry has to leave pretty soon, Mark. So okay. Mark was going to come next, but you'll have to wait. So. Okay, all right. I don't think. Well,
we just had a story about Gerry.
We can leave that for later.
No, we do.
I don't.
We gotta listen about Gerry's story.
See, I've already lost control. No, Mark.
No. Get your teacher voice out. Oh, I got the blood flowing in my legs now.
Okay, all right. So I don't know if a lot of, particularly the classmates, know how Gerry got to Staunton. So I kind of want to share that. Coming from East St. Louis, the 1960s, I had to write this down because I forget something. So anyway, the 1960s was a time of civil unrest. And in East St. Louis particularly, it was hit hard with violence. It was about a 50-50 split with the race. The year was 1967, and the East St. Louis teachers were on strike that fall, so school was canceled. And so the teachers settled their contract and started in October. So Gerry then, school was ready to start. Gerry was walking to school, and he was attacked by gang members. And so, yeah, he didn't know that. And so his folks were trying to stay in East St. Louis as long as Sherry and Gerry were in high school. They were trying to hang on, but when that incident happened, they thought, you know what, we got to get these kids out of East St. Louis. And so they packed up everything, and they came to Staunton because Staunton was safe enough from the violence, but it was also close enough to St. Louis so that Steve and Jay could work in St. Louis. So they traveled, they made that sacrifice to travel to St. Louis and have their kids safe here in Staunton. So now, Gerry comes and he enrolls in school. So, first thing that he does is he goes to see Coach Brenzel.
Right on.
So, Gerry was a really good athlete. In East St. Louis, he was on the JV football team, which was quite an honor because it was mostly made of extremely well-talented black athletes. And so they accepted him on the team because he was such a good athlete. So soon after he came to Staunton, he got registered and he thought, I'm going to seek out the football team. Well, everybody in Staunton knows that we had two great things. We had a great football team and we had a great band. Okay, but the two do not meet. You were either in the band or you were in football.
Well, there were a couple of exceptions. But yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mark.
Glenda, Mark was not one of the exceptions.
I was through my freshman year, and I thought, screw this, I'm not doing it. Stayed in bed.
You know,
He is exceptional, though.
Fred Brenzel passed away one day, and Marcia Floyd passed away the next day.
I do remember
Those
that.
pearly gates were full of energy that day.
They were. So
But
here's.
yeah, I think both of them made it. By the skin of their teeth.
So anyway, so Gerry goes to Coach Brenzel and he wants to he's interested in joining the team. So Coach Brenzel looks at him and he says, well, let me see what you got. So Coach Brenzel gives him a uniform and he gives him the equipment. And so Gerry starts to look through it and he's picking stuff out of it. And he picks this one thing up and he says, what is this? And Coach Brenzel looks at him and he says, don't you know what that is? And Gerry said, no. It was so Coach Brenzel says, it's a jock strap. And so,
We don't need no singing, John. Not East St. Louis.
Pretty much, you know the story. So Coach Brenzel looks him in the eye and he says, son, you must really be tough. So that brings me to Sherry, and Sherry has a few comments about being Gerry's older sister. Okay, Sherry, I'm up. Yeah.
When Linda asked me to speak, I had a few minutes to talk to her. I don't really know where to start. I'm going to start at the very beginning. Before Gerry was born, his mom was in labor, and she knew it was time. She was going to the hospital, and she got there, and the doctor said, this baby's coming now. And the doctor got on the gurney with her, going into the delivery room with one glove on his hand, delivering Gerry at that time. That explains a lot about who Gerry was. I'm going to do like Pete did. I'm going from 0 to 16. When we were, probably Gerry started 4A League baseball when he was about, I'm going to say 7 or 8. Always had a hat on. I don't know if you've ever seen Gerry without a hat. It's either a hat or a helmet. And he played ball. Our whole life was church and baseball. 2 to 3 games a week, 2 to 3 practices a week. So we were at the baseball field at least 5 or 6 days a week. And we were at church 3 or 4 days a week, times a week. So when Linda explained the move to Staunton, it was traumatic. for me being a senior. Gerry was a sophomore. This is 68. Anyway, it was a culture shock to move to Staunton. I don't want to offend anybody. Y'all didn't have any black people here. East St. Louis had a lot of black people and a lot of spirit. Were there any cheerleaders from Staunton? Are any of y'all ladies over there cheerleaders? Okay, I don't want to offend you either, but you guys did a great job. But when we came to Staunton, it was go Bulldogs, go Bulldogs. And each side it was Hungawa, Hungawa. You guys got that power. They would do that 10 times louder. And the longer they did it, the louder it got. So we came from a school of 2,000 kids to we had what, 400?
Yeah,
400. And that was only in 3 grades. We had like almost 3,000 kids, or 4,000, 2,000 in 3 grades. So it was really a culture shock. We grew up with the warlords, the Black Panthers, being escorted to the buses with the police officers. We came here, everybody was so nice. It was so quiet. It's kind of like a different world. Everybody liked each other. There's no fighting.
Our cops only had one bullet.
It was really different. And the dance. Who talked about the dance? Gerry.
Yes. How many of you knew about Gerry's dances? Have you seen Gerry dance?
Oh,
Were you
yeah.
ever at the dance? That dance?
Yeah, first time we saw it, it was kind of like, what the hell?
Yeah, I thought there was an epileptic kid.
How did you? Gerry wanted to be the white James Brown.
He was.
He was.
He was looking like.
You never seen Gerry like Gerry would go to the Goodwill and he would buy the most outlandish, craziest, non-matching outfits ever. And we always thought he looked like a blood refugee. But he would go to the Goodwill and he'd buy these stupid clothes that would be just outlandish. But that was scary. Like I said, he liked his hat, but the dance was so mortifying for Vicki and I, her cousin. I don't know if some of you remember Vicki, but...
My sister said when he moved to town it was a touch of class.
Whoa! That's interesting.
Now, what class we don't know.
Yeah, well, Gerry was unique. He was unique in his own way. But we had just a different culture from where we were. But the night of that dance, I can't remember who you danced with. Do you remember that little girl?
It wasn't me.
I know it wasn't you. A cute little girl. She's really cute. But gorgeous. This little cute little, freshman, sophomore girl, whatever she was. Anyway, Gerry's arm's all over that. He's all over that gym. He's just splitting and going and coming and he really
Thanks, Bob.
he's crazy. But he had his hat on and she was just almost as active as he was.
Did I get everybody's receipts and tickets and everybody's paid? It's time for me to leave, and Christy and I are going to get together, and I don't want to rush anybody by no means. I don't know.
I know your name is Mark. If we're going to pass each other this close.
I got a whole pepper on the way out.
I think I know why you're Gerry's friend. You taught us everything you knew. Yeah, we'll have to come back for his story.
Change with cash. Anybody? Change with your cash? No, I didn't think. I'll be back with your thing. No, you're fine. Thanks, Bobby. I'm so sorry. Okay. Over here.
Biracial, because one of the girls, her kid was biracial. She
had like partner, husband, well, I don't remember what it was. Anyway, when I used that term, everybody looked like, and she said, my kids are high yellow. They never had expression. Yeah. Okay. I don't want to
I'm sorry, what?
Are you tired?
I forgot what I was going to say.
I'm trying to hurry. No, but my cousin and I, Vicki, we were so mortified, horrified, embarrassed over Gerry's gyration out there on that floor, because we were pretty much introverts, and he was like everywhere out there. So we lived through it. We made it fine. We graduated and went on. Glad we was able to graduate from Staunton. But it was really the best move we've ever made. It was devastating in your senior year to move. It's hard. But we made it, and we talked about that so much later, that it was the best move that we've ever made when we come to Staunton. One story, and I'll leave with this one, is I think I was already married, so it's probably like 72 or so. My dad worked nights, my mom was there at home by herself, and Gerry had gone to Thursday night junior or JV football game. And he came home about 9:30 or 10. Well, Mom always got her hair done on Thursday, and, way back then the women wrapped their hair with toilet tissue, or even they used their own underwear sometimes. But she heard this noise. It was you never did that? Well, they always did big old toilet paper all over the head. Kept their hair puffy for the next day. But you never locked your doors in Staunton. So Mom heard this noise, and she said, Gerry? Nobody answered. This guy was singing. And Gerry, of course, always sang. And she said, what is wrong with him? Now, nobody's home but Mom. And she said, Gerry, have you been drinking? And this guy, and so this guy comes into Mom's bedroom and starts taking off his shoes. She doesn't know who this guy is. She's never seen him before. And she says, what are you doing? She said, I think I got the wrong house. He was drunker than a skunk. And Mom was chasing him out. Of course, she's in her nightgown. She gets to the door with her hair wrapped in toilet paper. She gets to the door, and she says something to this guy. Gerry comes around the corner. He goes, Mom, what are you doing? And you're not got a guy coming out of it. And she says, do you know this man? And Gerry says, no, I don't know him. And he said, sir, where do you live? And he bumbled where he lived, and Gerry said, well, look, I'm going to take you home. But he had taken off his shoes before he got in the house, because he didn't want to wake the wife up. Well, he went home without shoes. And when he came back, the shoes fit Gerry, and Gerry kept his shoes. They were really nice boots. So Billy has something to say before we go, but go ahead. Mark, you take it on. I'm done.
Gerry, we lived across the street from you guys when you were in Staunton. I know who that guy was. He's gone now, but you're lucky.
What is your name again?
I'm sorry?
What is your name?
Gerry Lowe.
Oh, yeah, I remember you. Nice to see you. And Mark, you remember Gerry.
I don't know if she remembers me because I look a little different.
Yeah.
So my name is Bill Turner. I'm Gerry's nephew. For those of you that I haven't had a chance to meet, I actually wasn't planning on speaking, but Mom suggested that I did, so I will. I hadn't really planned on a whole lot to say, but I have been thinking about Gerry a lot, obviously, over these last several days. And one thing, just before I say anything, I really want to compliment the service this morning. It was really outstanding messages that we heard, and it is exactly what Gerry would have wanted us to be talking about. I know that for a fact. It was really, really a beautiful service, and appreciate all the messages that were conveyed there, and take all of those to heart. One of the things that my perspective of Gerry, I know many of you have known Gerry as classmates and peers and family, that you may have grown up with him. For me, he was somebody that I always looked up to because I knew him as a kid here in Staunton. Whenever we lived here, I guess from the time I was maybe 2 to about 8 or so, and so I remember him playing Santa Claus. He came in, he gave me one of the best gifts that I ever remembered in my childhood, and that was a super memorable moment for me. It was so fun to always be around him. My son, whenever he got to know him years later, he asked me one time after he met Gerry, and he had a conversation with him, he said, Gerry was telling me this and that and the other. He says, was he kidding or was he serious? and I said, Frank, I've had that same question my whole life. And I think the reason for that is because when Gerry would talk to me, at least, and I don't know if it was the same for you or not, but when he would talk to me, there was always a lot of laughter involved. I think the word used this morning was ecosystem. I was thinking, I could see you searching for a word there. The word I was thinking of was gravity, because Gerry just sort of pulled people into him. And not only did he pull people into him, but he pulled people closer to each other whenever he was in a room with people. And so it was always neat to see that. But whenever I saw him laughing, it always seemed to me that he was laughing with whatever I was laughing at, but he could always see something sort of beyond that he was laughing at too. There was a twinkle in his eye that I always really, really enjoyed experiencing that and seeing that and feeling that. And so I couldn't always tell when Gerry was laughing or if he was kidding or not, but I always knew when he was serious. And the last few conversations that we had with him, I had a chance to go out and visit Gerry and Glenda, and we had a chance to spend a couple of afternoons just talking about really what the things that were really important in life. And what I know is that his faith was absolutely dead serious. And we all know where Gerry is today. And I really, really valued those conversations. They were conversations that I will never forget. And so, yeah, it was. I will miss him. He was a great uncle, and I know a great friend for many of us, and a good family member. Thank you.
About in song, we're either in football or band, but you never were in both, were you? With the exception of one person, and that person is Gerry. And so his last year, his senior year, after the football win of 8-0. I mean, for those of you that don't know, Staunton had a really good football team and a really good band, right? Yes. So, in his senior year, he had pretty much nailed the football part of that, and so he wanted to just try the band. And so Coach Brenzel and Coach Cheedy said, no, you don't. Well, that was just more of a challenge to him. So, I don't know how he did this, but I think it might have been, he kind of waited until his senior year, the last part of the senior year, and it might have even been the summer after the senior year, Gerry joined the band. Well, you have to learn to play a musical instrument or something, and that takes time. He figured that too out because he was given the bass drum, and so you just go like this, right? But Gerry always said that coming from East St. Louis, you have to have the downbeat. And so that's where that rhythm came. And so I never heard the downbeat. I didn't get it at all. He knew that. He goes, white people just don't have that downbeat. But he was able to kind of get it going. So he joined the band. And so, okay, are you guys ready for this?
Oh, God, you kept one? You stole one? Good Lord. I bet you the police have been looking for that.
With the one bullet on their pocket.
This has been in my closet for 43 years, 50 years maybe.
Yeah.
And so I think what happened is knowing Gerry, as opposed to him stealing this. The season was over, and the band teacher, who at that time was Mr. Harden because Mr. Cloyd left, said, okay, you have to, turn in all of your equipment and things. Well, Gerry in Gerry's time would always say, I'm going to do that tomorrow. I'm going to do that tomorrow. Well, tomorrow kind of never came, and so this wound up in my closet for 50 years, I guess, close to that.
Still have the red shoes, too?
Well, I do. Come to that. So we were married for 49 years. We just didn't quite make it to 50. So, having said that, we do have a resident person who has a lot of musical stuff. Beth, what else? What else do you have? The records. What else do you have? CDs of the band. And so Gerry wants to give this to the next resident dance historian.
So I knew it was just me. It was my nose.
It's just as good as they always do. Oh, I forgot. I'll give you the chat.
Okay.
He's my drummer boy.
Okay, come on.
There you go.
Gerry, I'm going to turn it over to you now because that's all we have to say. So, Mark,
Me? Give me it.
I'll give you a stick. Here, put this on.
How long? No, I'm not going to put that on. I've done that too many years.
You need hair to hold it on, too.
Yeah. I'm following
Yeah, it fall down your nose.
No, I've been struggling to think about things that happen, and memory fades as the years go by. I can't remember the first time Gerry and I ever met. I was in band, and of course that happened much later on, but I think part of it was that they ended up going. I'm probably one of the only Italian Baptists from Staunton. And they went to our church, and but I think we'd known each other since before that. But it's unfortunate that life happens sometimes because we were close in high school. We graduated. I've got a picture somewhere where the two of us are posing together in our cap and gown. And I took off for Illinois State, studied music ed. Gerry went to Southern, and we never connected again, which is unfortunate. I do know that there were a couple of things. Band, first of all, I'd forgotten about this, but I think it was Gerry. We would march all these summer parades, and it would be hotter than blazes, okay? And these roads, the tar would bubble up, and you name it. And my parents, as a lot of the parents did, they went along on these chaperone and feed ice and water and everything, all of us on the parade route. And I didn't know what had happened because I was in the trombones. I was up ahead of the percussion, but my mom told me later she was walking along there, and all of a sudden she hears, Charlie! Turned around, it was Gerry calling my mother. He had hit a pocket of really hot, gooey tar, and it came right out of his shoe. So he's marching with one shoe on, one shoe off. That sock had to have been horribly scarred. But they somehow got it back on. I don't know. But Gerry had the nickname C.W. C-Dub, we called him. And I don't know who started that either, but it was at the time when that Bonnie and Clyde movie was out, and the one character's name was C.W. Moss. The little guy, okay? And of course his dad, J.W. It just made sense. So I mean, you know, he was C.W. the whole time.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever called him Gerry. Don't think I ever called him Gerry.
It was C-Dub.
C-Dub. C-Dub. And I was fuzzy. Anyway, believe it or not. Anyway, there was another time we used to have an open campus here, and we'd always hop in a car and drive down to the A&W a couple blocks away for lunch. All right? Well, I remember Gerry and I were going to my car, had to have been senior year, and all of a sudden we heard yelling. And it was pretty rough, racist yelling. Calling Gerry, you know, white N-word and this and that and the other thing. Looked across the street, Deneen Street, and there was a whole group of boys wearing no shirts in a car, and they were calling him out. They wanted to fight. I don't know how this started. They were Mount Olive boys. It could have been at the drive-in. Could have been at the drive-in. That was always no man's land. But anyway, I'm standing there thinking, I'm going to die. I mean, these guys, they just look nasty. And I'm sure if they got close, they smelled nasty. Well, C-Dub, silver-tongued devil that he was, tossed us out of the face. I don't know. I wasn't even close. I don't know. I don't know how he did it. I mean, I had to have been like several aisles away.
He had to go home and change his underwear.
Yeah. That was a little late getting back to class that Well, I had to change before I went to A&W.
Well, of course you did.
Talk about spoiling an appetite. No, but that was that one time, and you know, he was just a good friend. He
to all of us.
To all of us, yeah.
All of us.
And I don't know what it was that made us click, because we were really, you know.
He was personable.
Yeah.
He got along with all of us.
Right.
Oh, when we first met Gerry, you've never seen anybody jive.
No. Here's Staunton jive.
Never in Staunton did we see jive. We had to look it up. There was no internet.
All you could do was turn in the Soul Train on Saturday. That was the only thing.
The last thing I want to say is there was one more time. My mom stopped me. She said, "You need to get a hold of Gerry's dad." I said, "What did we do?" So I called. He said, "Hey, would you like to make some money?" I said, "Sure." He said, "Well, I have a little painting that I need to have done."
Oh my gosh.
A little painting. Well, now it's hot. It's summertime. I mean, that's when you do outside painting, right? It was their entire house. Painting their entire house. Up on ladders, back down again. And the siding they had just sucked paint up like no other. So, I mean, you slap some paint on with the brush, and it's gone. It doesn't even look like I slapped anything there. Yeah, a little painting. So that's a tale on not only CW, but JW.
Gerry loves your parents.
Yeah, I know he did.
Absolutely loves your. And one thing about Gerry, he always wanted to hang out with parents as he was friends.
Oh, yeah.
He loved hanging out with parents.
Yeah,
He really loves your mom.
It was kind of like, if I weren't home, that's a big deal. I hang around with them because they're a lot cooler than he is. So, yeah.
Well, Gerry has to go. They have to go back to Raleigh. I do have something for you that this is yours now. Gerry had this, and he kept it until, well, last week. And so now, open it in front of us. Oh, this is mine. Oh, yeah. No, he's got the ball.
Gobble. He's got such a ball.
You gotta do the dance.
Oh, I think it's you. Yeah. That is correct.
Oh, I am?
She said I'm crazy.
Nice meeting you, dear. You know what, Jim? This is what Stephen was. And I never met Stephen.
Oh.
Just pictures that you remind me of.
Oh,
yeah. And that's a big compliment. Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Take care.
I got brothers to share this. Remember these people? I guess you were strong probably when my brothers were still at home. Some of them were still at home.
Yeah, we were there I was there from 76 to 82.
I graduated in 67. We moved away. We married in 69. We moved away in 71.
Oh, okay. So a little bit.
So nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. You have a safe trip home. Thank you. It was nice meeting you guys. You too.
No, the new thing, they used to do that. Maybe share it. Airport.
You gonna go Morphy? Not right now. Okay. What time is it?